Good morning, Mr. Marmars, Leroy, Mello. Good morning. Good morning, all. A good morning it is. A good morning it shall be. Good morning, Derek and Tyler and HB. Good morning, good friends. Good morning. Cleanie, good morning, Cleanster. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Bud, they're fish in the river. Which river, Bud? Which river? Oh, thank you, Tyler. What's your name on IG? What is your name on IG, Tyler? It's weird. We have different names. We have names here, we have names on IG, and then we have real names. Good morning. It's Ty and my last name. Okay. Well, I thank you for that. I appreciate it. Mello, that's cute. I agree with you. And I would take the word might out of there. I would take the word might out of what you just said. Bud, are you in Trenton area? Is that right? I reached out to Captain Jeff, my fishing partner, buddy. Teaches me everything. And he said it's a bit cold, that the fish aren't really running up here right where we go in the Detroit River. Usually early in the season we fish the Detroit River, and then as it heats up we move up into the St. Clair River, which is above Lake St. Clair, commonly known as the sixth Great Lake. There's this whole 5 Great Lake system, and then right there is St. Clair, and we call that the sixth Great Lake. It's a very big lake, but it's not deep. It's like a bowl, maybe 30 feet deep, except for the channel. Just, it's crazy, and it's beautiful. It's world class fishing. Oh, so you've seen 7 boats out there. It's world class bass fishing, St. Clair, Lake St. Clair. Lake St. Clair, Greenie. It's that lake that is between Lake Huron and Lake Erie. And every year they have a bass tournament there because, you know, the big professionals come. Yeah, it's a big lake, but not deep. It's weird. It's like I said, it's like you're fishing in a bowl, and all of the fish are like, the walleye run right through it. The walleye like the rivers quite a bit. I mean, they like lakes too. Silly of me to say that, but they go right through that lake into either St. Clair River or the Detroit River. Muskie. I've seen one in my life, you know, in the 6 years that I've been here trying to fish. I've seen one. And it actually came up to the boat because it was chasing. Oh, is that right? You're catching steelies. It came up to the boat. It was following as we were reeling in a really nice sized walleye. You could see the muskie come right after it. And it, within 1 or 2 feet of the boat, and then it said, "Oh, heck. I didn't realize I was following a fish already on the line. I'm out of here." Very, very, you have to fish for muskie. It's a target fish for sure. Good morning, everybody. Don't forget to check your chat apps. I'm not chat app, your chat option. And switch your chat option to all chat versus top chat. If you're like me when you first turn your YouTube on, it defaults to top chat and you don't realize it and you're not seeing everybody's comments. Good morning to everybody. Nice and sunny this morning and it's supposed to rain all afternoon for the rest of the afternoon. 25 people, 18 likes. We're doing really good. The perfect little lake with camping, spinning area, large inflatable slides out in the water. What's the name of that lake, Joe? Bud, you're gonna get the boat in next weekend. I guess Joe, Jeff's probably going to be reaching out to me soon because he said he'd reach out to me as soon as he felt like it was time to go. Another thing, just a final thought about fishing this morning. Early in the season, you're jigging for the walleye, which is you just do this up and down motion. You raise your bait up off of the floor of the river, and for about 12 inches, and then you let it drop, and then you raise it, and you let it drop, and you raise it, and you let it drop. And later in the season, Lake Snowden, thank you, Joe. Later in the season, you drag worms on a walleye harness. Well, my experience, or lack of experience, I am not good at jigging. We'll go out jig fishing, and I'll catch one or two, while Jeff and Kevin are catching 12. But you put me on a harness, I get a worm and I'm dragging a harness, I'm right in there in the same numbers they are. Well, not exactly, but I'm much better. So I always look forward to the day okay, no more jigging. We're gonna drag worms. So, just a thought, just talking out loud. It's getting ready for fishing season. You guys are gonna get your fish stories on Mondays. Yeah, Derek Anderson and GC, you two are funny this morning. Look at you, crappie. Derek. This is such a... You have a sense of humor, too. Good morning, everybody. That's interesting, Joe. Imagine going to school and there's a lake right across the street. Good morning, everyone. Let's get this business started this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Looking forward to fishing. Fishing's going to be great. Turkey hunting. Turkey aren't the easiest thing to kill. Turkey. Gobble, gobble, gobble. And then they get back to them. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Turkey hunting. Wild turkey. Turkey's my favorite meat. Of all meats, turkey's my favorite. Of all fish, walleye. I really don't I'm not interested in eating anything else. Just walleye. And the occasional perch. Perch is pretty good here. We get some nice perch. But that's another fishing technique. You go perching. Usually when you're dragging worms, if you're going too slow in the boat, you're trolling too slow, the perch will nibble away at your worm. You'll feel something on your line, and you go, okay, great, you ate half my worm. And you reel it in, check your worms, and sure enough, they nibble the worm right off of right off of the line, but they don't get on the hook. So, perch are pretty good at stealing bait. Who wants to hear about some strange historical coincidences? Give me 5 people. I'm going to read you guys some strange historical coincidences, if and only if you're interested. Right, Greenie? They leave a little nub. Oh, gosh, you know how it works. They just leave a little thing, and you're like, yep, I got perched. Historical coincidences. You guys ready for that? Let's read them. Strange historical coincidences. The book that predicted disaster. In 1898, I prefer cranks and jigs for perch. Yeah, you definitely jig for perch. And when we have gone perch fishing, there's more than one hook. You have a line, and you have a leader, and you'll have a hook with the bait. And then further up the line, a leader with hook with the bait. And we'll run about 3 hooks on a line. And then you jig, and you're just moving the thing up and down. And it's not unusual, if you're fishing in a good area, to pull in 2 or 3 at the same time. It's not unusual. The book that predicted disaster. In 1898, Morgan Robertson novella Futility told the story of the Titan, an unsinkable ship that hit an iceberg and sank. 14 years later, the Titanic disaster echoed the book's eerie plot. Both massive ships struck icebergs in April. Both lacked lifeboats, and they shared a chillingly similar name, a Titan and a Titanic. Was that a coincidence or cosmic foreshadowing? Robertson's publisher initially rejected Futility, calling it too unbelievable. Turns out, real life had something even stranger in store. Can you imagine that the book, he wrote it and 14 years later it actually happened? Here's a crazy one. In 1975, the bizarre Bermuda tragedy unfolded. A taxi struck and killed a man on a moped. Exactly 1 year later, on the same street, the same taxi, driven by the same driver, struck and killed the man's brother riding the same moped. Exactly 1 year later, same driver, same street, same taxi, same moped. I don't know, man. Yeah, I agree with you, Herbie. Like, how did they not take that taxi driver's license away? Well, what's up with that? This Bermuda tale holds a spot in transportation history as one of the most bizarre, strangest, and baffling coincidences ever recorded. I'll tell you what, I would not be riding my brother's moped that he got killed on. I don't think I would do it. I'd get my own moped. I don't know. They must not have damaged the moped too much, but it killed the guy. Crazy. Here's a true story. Wilmer McLean's life came full circle during the Civil War. In 1861, The First Battle of Bull Run tore through his Virginia farm. Seeking peace, he moved to the Appomattox courthouse, only for General Lee to surrender to General Grant in his living room 4 years later. As McLean quipped, the war began in my front yard and it ended in my parlor. The first battle of Civil War happens on his property. He says, oh, I can't do this, I'm moving. Buys a new spot, and that's where they surrendered. Crazy story. The ship that fought Friday. A sailor's superstition turned real. Superstitious sailors take note. In the 1800s, yeah, you remember that, Queenie? In the 1800s, the British Navy allegedly tried to debunk the superstition that Friday is bad luck at sea by building the HMS Friday, His Majesty's ship, Friday. Her keel was laid on a Friday. Her crew was selected on a Friday. Her maiden voyage was scheduled for a Friday. Captain James Friday was at the helm. The HMS Friday mysteriously vanished without a trace. So, the best laid plans of mice and men, they're trying to prove to the British sailors that Friday's not a superstitious day. They didn't do a good job. They were going to lay the keel on Friday. We're going to launch on a Friday. We're going to pick the crew on a Friday. We're going to have a captain's name on a Friday. We're going to depart on a Friday. Later on, they never heard from the ship again. Thank God today's Thursday. Okay? Thank gosh. How about this one? You guys have probably heard this one before. The Comet's favorite writer, Mark Twain and Halley's Comet. Mark Twain's life is linked to the stars. He was born on November 30th, 1835, while Halley's Comet was visiting. He famously predicted in 1909, I came in with Halley's Comet and I expect to go out with it. True to his word, Twain passed on April 21st, 1910, just as the comet returned. He was born not the first time, but when the comet comes every 76 years? He was born on the day that the comet arrived, and then he passed away on the day that the comet left. Or came again. In 1910, Halley's Comet was so bright that people could read newspapers at night by its light. Crazy. Can you imagine that? So speaking of comets, what's going on in space? Right, nerdy? That's a pretty cool story. What's going on in space? We ate mushrooms grown in space. The special fungi had lived aboard the International Space Station for more than a month and returned safely to Earth. You know how they're always doing scientific experiments up on the space station? They took myceliated, ready to fruit mushrooms to the space station. Listen. The mushrooms spread out on the chopping board seemed normal enough. They were rich and dense and had a strong earthy aroma. In the saucepan, they melted along with the cheese to form a creamy pasta sauce. A quick taste test proved they were delicious. The rich lion's mane flavor immediately shone through. This was the first meal we made with these unique mushrooms. They were gourmet, but not from any grocery store that you could find on Earth. These special fungi had traveled to space, lived aboard the International Space Station for more than a month, and returned safely to Earth, and eventually came back to Australia in 2025. In August 2024, we launched a set of 36 small vials into space aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. In these vials were 3 edible fungi species in the form of mycelium, a small phytofilament that acts like the root network for mushrooms. The species we tested were lion's mane, turkey's tail, and cordyceps. These have all shown benefits for brain function, gut health, and immune health, all important areas for long-term spaceflight. This experiment was our 6th payload to the International Space Station, thanks to the microgravity experimentation program that we lead at Swinburne University of Technology. Space Shrooms. So cool. It was designed and prototyped with the help of 12 high school students from Hailbury College in Melbourne. And it was made possible thanks to professional mushroom growers and suppliers who ensured the fungal strains were not only good food grade, but healthy enough to survive the extreme environments of space. Our fungi may have stayed on the ISS with astronauts, but the mushroom's experience was very different to the astronauts. Science experiments have special storage areas depending on what is being done and how much time astronauts have to be involved. Our mycelium was sealed up tight in special packaging to help keep it at a stable temperature and to ensure it wasn't damaged. They stayed like that for close to a month before they returned with the change of the crew on the space station. We didn't get much in the way of updates while our mushrooms were traveling, just some pictures and videos from NASA of the outside of the safely sealed experiment. On their return, we waited with bated breath to see if they would survive once open. When our mycelium returned to Earth and eventually Australia, they got a new home in rich, nutritious substrate. We then moved it into grow kits so we could watch and see whether their fruiting bodies would appear. We created several grow boxes and placed them in different environments to see which conditions were best, from kitchen benches to staff room tables to laboratory fridges. To our delight, within a few days we saw the signs of the mushrooms emerging, and within a week we had beautiful lion's mane ready to be cooked up and enjoyed. Once they were ready, we harvested them and tried different recipes. As well as eating those mushrooms, We're also in the process of analyzing them closely. But we can say now that the reduced gravity environment did not negatively impact our mycelium. In fact, they seemed to be so happy that they continued to produce several rounds of mushrooms. We know those as flushes. Artemis 2, NASA's crewed mission to the moon, is right around the corner. But there is still a lot we need to understand to provide the best conditions for astronauts as they venture further into space than ever before. For example, how will we continue to nutritionally support astronauts for weeks to months on long-duration missions? We know that a low-gravity environment has a profound impact on human bodies, and one of the best ways to support astronauts in orbit is with nutritional foods. So it seems like they didn't fruit in space. They just brought these containers up there, myceliated containers, put them in special storage area on the space station for 30 days, brought them back, and then fruited them. So during the myceliation stage, which sounds a lot like, it was probably liquid culture. What do you think? Sounds like they took vials of liquid culture up there. What do you mushroom experts think? That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like they brought liquid culture up there and basically were experimenting to see what this liquid culture with zero gravity impacted. And then they brought it back, put it into substrates, and then grew it. I would like to hear one where the mushroom's actually fruiting on the space station. Let's get to that one. What do you think? So, you remember that big bag of penis, freeze-dried penis envy that I have been showing you guys all week? Well, I finally packaged it into 4 to 5 gram packages. And I was worried because I said I'm going to give away packages all this week, but I wasn't sure I was going to have enough to package for get it package for today and for tomorrow. You're not going to believe it, but maybe you will. It came out exactly perfect. We got exactly the right amount of packages out of that big bag to be able to give away one more today and one more tomorrow. So, this is what a 4 to 5 gram pack looks like. It's almost like roughly 1 gram per fruit. Can you imagine something that big and beautiful looking? Only weighs a gram. Okay. Let's remember that when you're freeze drying, that's another thing. When I dehydrate, I get back about, if I put in 10 grams of wet fruit after I've dehydrated it, I get back about 1 gram. So it's about a 10 to 1 ratio. When I do it with freeze dried, I get about 0.8 grams for every 10 grams. So they actually take more of the water out even than dehydrating. So, I just thought that was interesting. You actually get a little less fruit back from when you freeze dry versus dehydrate. Let's give these away. Give me a number between 1 and 50. The first person to get the number that is in my chute is going to get this package. Give me a number between 1 and 50. If you've already received a package or got one today, let's let other people guess. Okay? And you have to be in the United States and over 18, and we have a winner. We have a winner. The first four, it's a 4 in the chute. And the first 4 that I saw was Vegas. Vegi. Congratulations, Vegi. You are getting a package, this package specifically, sent to you. I'm going to the post office very early, right after the show today, right after the program. So do me a favor. I always get mixed up because I have 2 addresses for you, Vague. And I always forget exactly which one's the right one. So please email me or IG me. Let me know your address and I can get this out to you today. If you can get me your address by about 10:30. Okay? And I'm always glad when I see Vaggie win, because I know she has, much like Cyber Jolie, issues, physical issues, that truly the mushrooms are helpful. She's told me enough times that, you know, when we've sent her something, how valuable they have been. So it's not, these ladies aren't just tripping, they're healing. And I love that. So I know that they will be put to good use. Jesus Christ, I'm not answering those questions this morning, but it's funny. I get it. I get where you guys are coming from, but I look at it more spiritually. Jesus, I did not. I believe you, HB. I believe you. I believe Jesus Christ is typically out of control. Okay? I did not. But at first I believed him, so I'm glad you cleared that up. Okay? Oh, you guys, you're hilarious out there. Resentment. Let's talk about resentment today. Have you ever, any of you ever experienced resentment? Just the word alone says enough. You have a sentiment, but then you have a resentiment, like you're living it over. You have this angry, and then you re-angry. Resentment. Key synonyms for resentment include bitterness, indignation, animosity, rancor, a grudge. Bitterness is an intense, long-lasting resentment. Indignation, anger caused by unfair treatment. Animosity or hostility, strong, active dislike or opposition. Rancor, long-standing bitter hate. Grudge, a persistent feeling of ill will. I gotta be honest with you guys, I've experienced every one of those. I have to be honest with you. I've experienced every one of those forms of resentment. I'm not proud to tell you that. But we're going to listen to what Lao Tzu says about resentment in our reading today. There's only 2 more readings after today, 2 more verses. We're going to be on verse 79 today, 80 tomorrow, 81 on Monday, and then we've gone through the whole book together. It's been a good journey. Give me 5 people that agree that the journey through the Tao Te Ching has been a good journey. It has been for me. I've incorporated so much of it into me and practicing what I can of it that Just in the last 3 months, I see a difference in my life. I really do. Just by reading it and practicing it. I read one verse a day, and then the essay, we have an essay usually written by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and then I check, Bud, you have a great day. And then I check with my other sources. And then lately, I've also been rewriting each verse in my own words. And I'm keeping a little book of those. And just rewriting the verses in my own words has been it's really edifying. Before I go to the verse, let me read to you a few, as we do on occasion, a few quotes about resentment. Anger, resentment, and jealousy doesn't change the heart of others. It only changes yours. Resentment is like setting yourself on fire and waiting for the other person to die of smoke inhalation. That's a good one. Have you ever set yourself on fire? When there is true equality, resentment does not exist. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. I've drank that poison. Half the time the other person doesn't even know that you just poisoned yourself, and they're out there living. I tried to manipulate and control people, and I harbored resentment. I wanted to be forgiven, but I wouldn't forgive others. A couple more. The final proof of greatness lies in being able to endure criticism without resentment. Oftentimes, criticism just automatically ignites a resentment in us. Guilt is anger directed at ourselves, at what we did or did not do. Resentment is anger directed at others, at what they did or did not do. The worst resentment that anybody can have is one you feel justified to keep. You have a right to be resentful. The worst kind of resentment you can have. Renata Suzuki says this: letting go of anger, bitterness, resentment, and hate towards others is not a weakness. It is, in fact, the strongest, most empowering thing you can do for yourself. No matter how heinous what was done to you, I guarantee that thinking negative thoughts will not harm that person in any way, shape, or form. The only person it hurts is you. Resentment is a mental resistance to, a non-acceptance of, something which has already happened. An emotional rehashing or refighting of some event in the past. You can't win because you're attempting to do the impossible. Change the past. I love what Don Miguel Ruiz says. Justice is only having to pay for a wrong once. As soon as we start making people repay and pay and pay, You're living in resentment. Let's see what Lao Tzu has to say. Seventy-ninth verse of the Tao Te Ching. After a bitter quarrel, some resentment remains. What can one do about it? Being content with what you have is always the best in the end. Someone must risk returning injury with kindness, or hostility will never turn to goodwill. So the wise always give without expecting gratitude. One with true virtue always seeks a way to give. One who lacks true virtue always seeks a way to get. To the giver comes the fullness of life. To the taker, just an empty hand. It's very powerful. Very powerful. In this verse, we're asked to change the way we hold resentments, following a difference of opinion or an outright quarrel. Ruins marriages, you know that. Resentment ruins marriages, ruins relationships. Ruins relationships with your older kids. If I stayed resentful against my son, it would be my problem, not his. Now what causes annoyance and anger after a dispute? The generic response would be a laundry list that detailed why the other person was wrong and how illogically and unreasonably they behaved, concluding with something like, I have the right to be upset when my daughter, mother-in-law, ex-husband, boss, or whoever you're thinking of, I have the right to be upset when they speak of me that way. Has anybody ever felt that? Old pops, for sure. I have the right to be mad at them. How dare them? How dare them? And then you hold on to it. But if you're interested, thank you for answering that question, you guys. But if you're interested in living a Tao-filled life, it's imperative that you reverse this type of thinking. Resentments don't come from the conduct of the other party in an altercation. No, they survive and they thrive because you're unwilling to end that altercation with an offering of kindness, love, and authentic forgiveness. Lao Tzu says, someone must risk returning injury with kindness, or hostility will never turn to goodwill. We have to risk being willing to return whatever that was that we felt and we wanted to hold on and be resentful to. Return it with kindness. Their actions against you, their thoughts, their words. That's the old kill them with kindness. But we don't want to kill anything. So when all of the yelling, screaming, and threatening words have been expressed, the time for calmness has arrived. Remember that no storm lasts forever, and that hidden within are all these seeds of tranquility. There is a time for hostility, but a much longer, bigger time for peace. As the storm of quarrels subside, you must find a way to disregard your ego and your need to be right. It's time to extend kindness by letting go of your anger. It's over. So offer forgiveness to yourself and the other person, and encourage resentment to dissipate. Be the one seeking a way to give. In the sense that Lao Tzu describes in this verse, rather than the one looking to get. I want an apology. I'm not going to deal with that person again until I get an apology. Dr. Dyer is going to give us a pretty neat example. Let's follow it. He runs a large enterprise based on the wisdom in this profound verse. My company is all about giving. So if there are any disputes about product sales, my assistant knows to let the other party have whatever they desire. Let me segue here for a minute. I've made this a business practice of my own, especially relative to mushrooms. If I send something to somebody, they've given a donation, I've sent them something, and they look at it, and they're unsatisfied. Within moments, before I even have a discussion with them about what is it that's not quite right, how can we fix it, within moments, the very first thing that I do, and I'm not being a big shot, I'm not trying to tell you I'm wonderful or anything, I'm just explaining my process. The very first thing I do when I receive an email of concern is I rush to my Cash App. I find whatever it is, the entry from there, sending it to me, and I immediately refund the full amount. So before I even open my mouth, I'm no longer even holding their money. Now I can have a conversation about what I was sent. What are the issues? What can I do to mitigate it? Never once have I asked, send it back to me and let me see what you're talking about. That's not how people should sell mushrooms or provide mushrooms. If there's a problem at their end, I'll own whatever it is. I'm not going to have a dispute or contention with you if you're not happy. No problem. This happened about 3 weeks ago. I sent a guy some product. I was excited for him to get it. I receive an email. This is the worst looking stuff you've ever sent. Boom, straight to Cash App. Boom, straight to refund. And then I asked him, what's wrong with it? Please let me know. He goes, well, you didn't clean the substrate off of the bottom of the mushroom as well as you have in the past. Okay, that could be true. All right. And then a quick little mention of, well, I refunded the money to you. I am extremely sorry. I'll take better care in the future to do a better job of cleaning the substrate. And I do appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And he had a right to have that concern. No problem. Here's the funny part. About a week and a half later, he sends me an email. And he says, you know what? Those shrooms you sent me are potent as hell, Pops. They were amazing. Thank you. And the petty side of me had to go over and say, well, I wonder if he refunded my refund to him? But he hadn't. So, should I have a resentment? It's such a good practice no resentment. It was like interesting. It's interesting that even though they were the worst thing that I ever sent, they turned out to be the best thing that I ever sent for free. So if there are any disputes about product sales, my assistant knows to let the other party have whatever they desire. If someone can't afford something, I give it away. I allow recordings of my talks and ask nothing in return. I give of my time for photographers, autographs, or anything at all. Unless I have a plane to catch, I'm the last person out of the auditorium. And I'm willing to talk with anybody who makes such a request. It's all about giving. And those who work for me know this and live these principles. This is Dr. Dyer speaking. When I asked an outsider to be part of my speaking tour not long ago, I encountered a man who was a tremendously gifted musician and entertainer. Yet he was living in scarcity. Despite his enormous talent, abundance just wasn't flowing into his life. After a few of our speaking dates, I noticed his inclination to be a taker rather than a giver. He consistently looked for ways to make more money on the side, excluding everyone else who was working to provide a service to those who attended the lectures. I had a long discussion with this man about how his profiteering, rather than offering, was like blocking. He was blocking the flow of abundance into his life. And I encouraged him to trust in the wisdom that Lao Tzu provides. The point here is that this was an opportunity for us both to proceed on the tour without resentment. Regardless of anyone else's attitude, if you live with true virtue, you seek for ways to give. The truth completely aligns with this truth completely aligns with the Tao. After all, the creator of life is always giving and never taking. Imagine if the sun charged us for its rays. Just imagine. Change the way you think about scarcity and resentment, and begin to truly feel this question: how may I serve? The universe will seem to respond. Finally, you got it. The universe will say, you're acting like me now. I'll keep that flow coming into your life in ways that's going to astound and delight you. I call this harvests. I am astounded, I mean this, by the harvests that I receive. Astounded. The goodness and kindness that's returned to me because I want to serve. It's astounding. It doesn't, oh, I sent someone something today, so I should get something from the universe tomorrow. Keep planting. Oh, I promise you. The universe is very aware. Very aware. And those that serve live abundantly. And let's talk about abundance. Doesn't mean I have more dollars in my wallet. It does sometimes. But that isn't what abundance is. Abundance is I'm more joyful than I've ever been. I'm less critical. I'm abundantly non-critical. I hope that I'm becoming more humble. The harvests are amazing. They come to you in so many forms. You saw a harvest I received last week, a box filled with joy from Gypsy Life. You know what I received yesterday? Another harvest. Her husband, Preston, is sitting in a chair out in the desert with his gorgeous mountains behind him. And he has that American Indian flute that he plays so well. And he's sitting there, he goes, and you can tell, I'm pretty sure, the gypsy was videotaping it, and he's sitting there with this beautiful long beard and just looking magnificent. And goes, hey Pops, I just wanted to send you a lesson on how to play your flute. And so for the next 15 minutes, he's teaching me through the video how to play the flute. Out of nowhere. I didn't ask. I didn't say, how do I do it? It was a week or two later after receiving the gift, but they're over there going, you know, it'd be nice if Pops knew how to play it. Well, I had already looked up on YouTube, and there was a couple of tutorials on YouTube, but this tutorial really hit home. I'm listening, and I want you guys to know, once I looked up the tutorials last week, guess who's practicing? I'm a little too embarrassed to play for you guys yet, but one of these days, you guys are going to receive the harvest of Pops playing the American Indian flute. Practicing. I don't think I'll ever be that wonderful at it. It doesn't matter. Just the time I spend working with that instrument, I want you to get this, is a harvest. The old Pops wouldn't have spent 1 minute trying to play a flute. To hear those melodies, to hear those notes and the purity of them, and how they resonate with my spirit. Pure harvest. Can you guys get that? Do you see what Preston sent me as being a harvest? Give me a couple people. You don't have to be 5. Give me a couple of people. God, yeah, that would be a harvest. I get it. We receive abundant harvests in so many ways. We just have to look at them. Now, this is the fact that somebody would take the time and consider me and and stage it and sit in a chair in the middle of the desert and videotape it and the kindness of it. I got goosebumps talking to you guys about it. When we give unconditionally, we are causing harvests in other people's lives. We are giving them a harvest. That's how it works in the Tao. That's how it should work between man, between humans. Don't be a taker, be a giver. And you will receive. I can't tell you what you're going to receive next. I can tell you you're going to receive. And I tell you that from personal experience. To the giver comes the fullness of life. To the taker, just an empty hand. That's how Lao Tzu ends the verse. Here's what Lao Tzu encourages us to do through the wisdom of this 79th verse. End on love no matter what. Picture yourself at the termination of a quarrel or a major dispute. Rather than reacting with your old patterns of residual anger, revenge, and hurt, visualize yourself offering kindness, love, forgiveness. Do this right now by sending out these true virtues to any resentments you may currently be holding. Make this your standard response to any future altercations. I end on love no matter what. You know what the harvest of that is? You're going to have a lot fewer altercations. You're going to have a lot fewer confrontations. I end on love no matter what. I'll lose my temper. Happens. Nobody's perfect. Then I have to ask for forgiveness. Give forgiveness to myself for it. And not be resentful for whatever it was that caused my temper to flare. You're holding resentments against your spouses. Then you're replaying their harms against you in every fight. Imagine how short the fight will be if you're just discussing the one issue at hand. All other issues have been washed away. You cannot change them. They are in the past. So why rehash it? Why bring it up again? Why practice that resentment? Practice giving. In the midst of arguments or disagreements, practice giving rather than taking before you exit the fracas. Offer the Tao treasures of real virtue by presenting kindness rather than a put down. Or offer a sign of respect instead of proving someone else is wrong. Giving involves leaving the ego behind. While it wants to win and show its superiority by being contrary and disrespectful, your Tao nature wants to live in peace and in harmony. You'll reduce your quarreling time to almost zero if you practice this. Silently recite the following words from the prayer of St. Francis. I love this prayer. Where there is injury, let me bring pardon. Be a forgiver. Forgiveness is what he teaches. Bring love to hate, light to darkness, and pardon to injury. Read those words daily, and they'll help you overcome your ego's demand. And you'll know more the fullness of life. The taker's hand is empty. Any thoughts? Any comments? I have about 3 or 4 minutes. I can take a comment or two. Any thoughts about what we're talking about? Is it resonating? Can you see how your whole communication pattern will change? Can you see it? Can you see how you wouldn't even need to get in a confrontation? And yet when you do, because we may as a human, immediately leave it with love. It's extremely hard to fight with yourself. If I'm not willing to fight with you, if I'm not willing to try to prove that I'm right and you're wrong, there's going to be no confrontation. And then at the end of the day, when you're a practicer of this principle, I can't even begin to tell you, I can't begin to tell you the awesome harvests that you will receive. We aren't talking about money. You know what another amazing harvest is? Watching yourself change. Look back at the person you were a year ago, and look at the person you are now when you're practicing. And I can't believe I used to take that kind of stuff personal. Second agreement. I literally took that personal. I don't have to do that anymore. There is no greater harvest. There is no greater virtue than being a giver of peace. So thank you for listening to me today. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you guys to the bottom of my soul. I appreciate the harvests that you guys bring me. Tea with Pops here is a harvest for me. I daily get a harvest when I see my friends here, and I see the comments, and I see the kindness, and I see what you guys are growing outside of this channel. The things that you're doing to spread the idea of psychedelics as healing, to see you joining each other in friendships that you would have never had, except that we meet here. Every one of your friendships are a harvest for me. Can you get that? Can you imagine that? Every one of you, when you guys are, and you're out there having these conversations, you're sharing, you're sending things to each other, you're supporting each other, you're doing these wonderful things. And I don't even have to know about it. But they're my harvests. I got a harvest happening all around the world and I don't even know about them. Isn't that amazing? Now that's awesome. Thank you, Greenie. When you go to work and you treat your employees and your employer differently, that's one of Pops' little harvests. I giggle. Beautiful. So, I promise you harvest. I promise them. Four things I leave you with: the simple agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Imagine how much you harvest when you don't speak in anything less than an impeccable way. Imagine your harvests. Don't take things personal. That's a harvest. You're learning that it's not about you. You're learning how to let it go. Let it go, little buddy. It's not worth even spending another moment. Just return the money to them. Whatever the issue was, it's okay. I would have given those away to somebody else anyways. Don't have expectations. Expectations are poisoning harvests. Expectations and making assumptions are literally, let's take poison and go pour it on our potential harvest. I don't want one anymore. I just want to poison it. And these are things that we got to do every day as we do our best today. Be a giver, not a taker. Thank you again. Old Pops is running, keeps on talking when he could let it go. Okay? You guys have a wonderful, beautiful day. I can't wait to see you here tomorrow. We'll just continue to do what we're doing. As we grow, we will receive harvests. And we will give other people harvests.